So when I heard I was going to do an ed talk, I'm kind of a TED Talk wannabe. So I had to go with the button up and, the kind of hip looking, I've got the sneakers ready to go, but this isn't going to work, so I'm going to take this out. But anyway, I want to talk today about something that I'm not an expert in, actually. I'm an expert in mechanical engineering, but not in psychology or child psychology, but I am a parent. And, parents always think that because they've been a parent that they're experts, right? And so they're going to tell you about what kind of parent you can be. But actually, I'm not going to try to tell you, well, I am going to try to tell you what kind of parent I think I want you to be. But I'm actually going to tell you where your parents went wrong. So you like that, right? I mean, you go home at Thanksgiving, you have an argument with the parents, you tell them they ruined your life and whatnot. No, actually. So I've been at the college here 10 or 11 years. My son was 1 when we moved here, so he's 10 or 11 now, I don't know. And I've got a daughter who was born while I was here at college. I still haven't seen her because I'm so busy. Okay, that was a Grove City joke. Nobody got it. At any rate, I have a daughter. Her name is Arden. My son's name is Fisher. And one of the things that I've noticed while being a parent is, and my son's in Little League Baseball, and my daughter does figure skating, and my son plays the piano, and my daughter plays the violin, is I've come across a lot of parents and who are really insanely obsessed about their children. And so, I have to admit, I've come through a time of parenting where I was pretty obsessed about my children. And it struck me sort of actually within the last 3 months. So this is like new stuff. So when Sam wrote me the email, I was really ready to talk to somebody about this. And my ideas aren't totally formed on this. So I want to make this disclaimer at the beginning. I want you to try not to react to things that I'm not saying, because it's going to sound like I'm saying a lot of things that I'm not saying. But there's a nugget in here that I think that our whole society has something to learn about. And the title of my talk was Why American Parents Are Raising Their Children Wrong, or How They're Raising Their Children Wrong. And then the subtitle is Christians and Non-Christians. So if you thought you were just coming here to hear how Huma talk about naturalism and how bad all secular minds are, I'm going to go after everybody. Because I've seen both Christian parents and non-Christian parents behave this way, and I've seen myself tempted to behave this way. And I think it's something that's not helping our society. And so here we have got this Time magazine cover-up. I loved it when I saw it. It's just a great statement about the sort of the now. And the me generation. Millennials are lazy. I think you guys are millennials. You're lazy. Entitled narcissists who still live with their parents. So maybe you're not quite there yet, but I guess you are in a way. And then Joel Stein, the author of this article, says, why they'll save us all. It's this really, kind of contrary article about, even though all you millennials can't get something done, we're going to be saved by your creativity or your entrepreneurial spirit or something like this. Well, not everybody is so sanguine. So here's a cartoon that was from the Atlantic Monthly, an article that was written within the last 5 years. The title, How to Land Your Kid in Therapy. And the subtitle, if you can't read it, says, Why the Obsession with Our Kids' Happiness May Be Dooming Them to Unhappy Adulthoods. A therapist and mother reports. And so, you can see this cartoon, but it's actually true. This therapist was having people come to her office, and she would say, okay, well, let's sit down and talk about what's going on. And she would ask, so anything, when you were growing up, were you abused? Were you picked on? No. Anything you felt about your parents that was problematic? No, they were great. So did something go bad at school? Or no, my parents were really great, and they got me involved in all kinds of things, and everything was fine. No, I'm okay. That's good. So why are you here? Because I feel lost, depressed, unable to deal with my life. And the article talks about this phenomenon, and the author suggests that our obsession with our children's happiness and our children becoming the perfect individual, all right? So if you haven't been a parent yet, which most of you haven't, it's crazy when you're a parent. What stripe pattern is good to have in the crib? Should the lines go up and down, or should they go side to side? And what toys of what shape should you use so your child's brain develops right? And things like, did I miss it? Hang on. Like this, okay? Like baby Einstein. So if you play with the right toys, your kid's IQ will go up. And then there's all kinds of pressure about whether or not you should breastfeed or not, or whether or not you should let your child sleep in the bed with you or not, and how your kid's going to become a serial killer if you don't do it the right way, and all these kinds of things. And it's focus, 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 focus on the child. So why does it surprise us if we lavish all this constant focus on children that there's going to be some kind of thing messed up about how they think about themselves and their relationship to the world and whatnot? So I got off track, but so before I go into anything sort of more about that. Another issue that you find that's sort of related to this is how busy kids get, and how obsessed parents are with making sure that their kids have all the right opportunities and all the right activities. So play violin for 10 years and make sure that they're in the right club, and make sure that they get on the right baseball team, and hopefully they'll make the all-star team, and on and on and on. And ultimately at the core of this is a good thing. Your parents want you to turn out okay. But the problem is that there's so much micro-manipulation of the process. And so there's this article in This Life in the New York Times that was asking this question. Are children overscheduled? And is it even a problem if you overschedule your kid's schedule? And so I'm sorry, but I'm just going to read this stuff because it's so much better than anything I could come up with here. This article says that the problems arise when parents over-scrutinize their children's performance in activities. There's actually not a lot of good evidence that shows that there's an easily definable how much is too much, how much is not enough in terms of extracurricular activity. But one thing a lot of people agree with is that when parents start saying things like, you don't just play soccer for fun or play stickball in the cul-de-sac, you're vying for the travel team by second grade. The only place where I say stop is where the child starts to say his or her performance determines his or her self-worth. I am as I perform. This psychologist, the author of The Self-Esteem Trap, was the one person I talked to, this is the author speaking, who argued that too many activities may be a problem. She blamed a generation of parents who are too interested in the lives of their children, hanging on every word, coddling every need, communicating that parents are just audience members for their children's accomplishments. Before age 11 or 12, she said, when children begin to develop self-consciousness, activities risk distracting children from their natural development. That's sort of the lead into this part. Prior to then, all these lessons and classes are about parents competing with parents. And if you don't believe it, I've seen it. As a coach of a Little League baseball team, I have seen parents competing, mad that their kid isn't the one pitching today because he's better than so-and-so. And the two kids don't care. They're buddies. The parents are upset about something the kids aren't even upset about. And I've also seen parents yell at their kid over and over because they can't get the ground ball that's coming in at first base or the throw that's coming into first base. This obsession that parents have with wanting their children to do well to the point that they really act poorly. In the past, this was more possible, she said, not just because there was a parent staying at home, but because parents didn't have to didn't have this obsessive interest in their children's lives. So this idea of not being like this middle paragraph talks about. And I already showed you baby Einstein. And then it gets ugly, okay? So we have parents killing parents at sporting events of children. So the kid whose dad died watched his dad get killed on the ice at a hockey game. So, I mean, it's just blows me away. Now, look, the worst thing, the best method of rhetoric is to, show someone something like that and then pretend that everybody acts that way. Okay? So this is one of the things that you could misread in this talk. I'm certainly not suggesting that all parents act like this and that no parents have their act together and all of you experience this kind of thing and people are, killing each other left and right at Little League baseball games. This is not what I'm trying to suggest. But what I am trying to suggest is that I've been a witness and a part of the problem of this obsession with child happiness. And I believe that obsession with child happiness is part of what that Atlantic Monthly article is about. So does the psychologist that wrote it. So now I want to tell you what I think the alternative is that we're missing in parenting. And it's the alternative that's related to this really awesome feeling that we get. I don't have the right word for it. I need an English prof or something. But at any rate, this feeling that we get when we watch a bystander dive into a frozen river to save a woman that he doesn't even know. Or the kinds of things that make great movies, like October Sky, where the smart, good-looking kid befriends the geek and great things happen. And we all get warm fuzzies when this happens. But guess what? We are not raising children in this country to be these kind of heroes. We're raising people in this country to think about me, 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 what's best for me. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. So when I went to college, I studied a lot. And I studied a little bit because I was afraid. I was afraid of interacting socially with people. People told me that they liked me, but I didn't believe them. And it was easy for me to retreat to my dorm room and work really hard and get great grades and feel good about myself. Well, about junior year, I was starting to feel pretty rotten about who I was. I remember actually sitting in my dorm eating an apple pie. I'm not making this up. Eating an apple pie by myself while the hoedown was going on outside, the SGA thing. And I was eating the apple pie with my bare hands. Okay, I was low. I was at a low point. All right? I was at a low point. And I'll tell you what happened that junior year. A couple freshmen from Connecticut who wanted to start a lacrosse team at Grove City College, at Gordon College where I was, they saw who I was and they said, this isn't good. And sure, he's a little geeky. Sure, we don't know if he's a very good athlete, but who cares? He's a brother. They actually started walking into my room at night while I was studying and scaring me. So they tiptoe in and scream right behind my chair, right? And slowly I developed a great relationship with these guys, and they were relentless. They did not let me not be their friends. And what is it that taught them to be that way? And I believe it's seeing value in this kind of a world rather than a world that focuses on, man, if I could just get my kid so that everything in their life went perfect, they're going to have a wonderful life. When really, a wonderful life has to do with what happens between you and me. And I'll close with this. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ, who, being in the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearances as a man, he humbled himself by being obedient to death, even death on a cross for someone else. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place. So how do you become great? You become great like this. Now, does this mean that you don't enroll your children in Little League Baseball or try to do things that help your children improve who they are? Of course not. Of course I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't be teaching at a Christian college if I thought that. But it means that the way that we teach our kids there has to be something else besides that, that's more deep, more rich, and more important. Like, hey, why don't you be the one on the team that makes sure that everybody comes together as a team and experiences what teamwork is for? I'll end there.